Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And this evening I thought I'd start off with something of great fondness and of remarkable value to the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka. And hopefully we'll have the clip right now.
Other Sri Lankan players out onto the boundary area. That's it, all the way to the boundary for four. What a victory for the Sri Lankans. A fantastic effort by them. Their players are charging out onto the ground.
And that was the remarkable moment in the history of our nation, especially the cricketing history of our nation. And that was when Sri Lanka won the World Cup back in 1996. Since then, all sorts of things have happened. But the man at that moment is right here with us this evening, Mr. Arjuna Ranatunga. Good evening to you, Mr. Arjuna Ranatunga.
Good evening.
Thank you very much. Does that clip bring fond memories to you always?
Absolutely. That's one of my happiest days in my entire life, apart from my children's birth.
Yeah.
I think I will consider that as one of the greatest moments in my life.
That last ball, how did you feel when you realized we've done it, we've won the World Cup?
Actually, we felt it after we landed in Sri Lanka that we won a World Cup, when we saw the crowds at the airports and the roads. But generally it was so good that I had Aravind on the other side. Like we are the ones who really suffered to get cricket into a certain level, helped by some of the seniors. But the suffering we went through with a lot of issues, it was, I don't know, it may be the God's gift that we could finish the World Cup. And when I played the last ball, Aravind was watching from the other side.
The feeling was what? Can you describe it in one word?
Very, very difficult. I think the only thing I can say that I always felt that we wanted to get the country into the next level as far as the cricket is concerned. And we worked very hard to do that, but ultimately we could win a World Cup. No one expected us to win a World Cup. We were planning to be one of the greatest sides in the world by 2000, but suddenly, with the thinking and tactics we use, we could end up being number one in the shorter format.
15 years later, we see 2011 and the utter shock to all the people of Sri Lanka when we actually lost. And now there's a lot of controversy so many years later after that, 9 years after that, and a whole 24 years after winning the 1996 World Cup. What do you feel now? Do you feel that there's any merit in the claims being made that there was this terrible match fixing?
Coming into the point, I personally felt that it was not the right moment to take this matter up. They should have taken this matter up as soon as the former minister got information.
Right.
And then, if you are going to go into an inquiry, I'm sure that they should have done an inquiry in a different manner.
Like what would you suggest?
What Mr. Mahindananda Alutkamage said, the players are not involved.
Yeah.
And the worst part was they brought the players, like they started with Aravinda, then Upul Taranga, then Sangakkara, and Mahela was supposed to come and he landed in the morning.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's the logic behind the inquiry. If they want to do the inquiry, they should have continued the inquiry and throw that to the dustbin. And
yeah.
if Mahindananda Alutkamage has...
You mean the inquiry that has just been done?
Done, yeah. I personally felt that it should have been done long time back if Mahindananda Alutkamage had all the information.
Yeah.
But even after so long, my worry was this was an election time, why it comes now?
Right.
Not at a proper decent time. And a lot of people thought this is a political thing.
In your view, is it a political thing?
I really don't know. I personally wanted to know whether Mahindananda Alutkamage has enough evidence or he is convinced that there was an issue. If that is the case, I'm sure that we should have gone into the details.
But
And
why
what-
wait so long?
I really can't understand that. That's something I always wanted an answer from the former minister, because if he was a minister and if he had a doubt, they should have started the inquiries at that time. And tell you honestly, a lot of people had a lot of different thoughts about these finals.
Yeah.
And if we had enough evidence at that time, they should have got the ICC to inquire into it.
Right.
And then anti-corruption was there.
Of course, the laws on corruption came into place in 2015.
Yeah, that was only I think it was only the Sri Lankan Cricket Board.
Yeah.
And we could finalize that only in 2019.
Right.
Not earlier. Like I know that Mr. Mahindanand Alutgamage is the one who started working on the matter, but we finished the matter in the last year.
When you analyze it as a much beloved figure in cricket in Sri Lanka, and you have your own viewpoint, and you've lived, you've breathed, you've lived for cricket. So you must have some views. When we lost that day, did you think for a moment that, gee, this has to be fixed?
I can't tell you honestly whether I felt it, but I was very disappointed.
But that's normal, isn't it? As a Sri Lankan, we lose a World Cup final, the whole country will be down in the dumps.
It was more like I was doing commentaries in India.
Right.
And I was part of the studio commentaries.
Right.
And when we got this massive score, about 270 or something, we all felt that we are running for the championship. And after losing 2 wickets early, I always felt the danger people were Tendulkar and Sehwag, which we got them very quickly through Lasith Malinga. But overall, I felt it can happen. Like, we did a lot of mistakes, but it can happen in a cricket game, whether it is genuine or not. It's very difficult to describe whether I was worried about a fixing thing, but I was disappointed the way they played.
Who should have asked the ICC then?
I think the sports minister and the cricket board should have asked. If he had enough evidence to go through an inquiry, I'm sure that he should have done that at the start.
Do you think that, because obviously the nature of Sri Lanka cricket and its management and so on, whether we like it or not, is politically driven. It is usually the president via the minister or in conjunction with, however nice you want to put it. It is their vision that ends up. We've had interim committees, we've had all sorts of jolly things like that. And it's even when you have an elected body, there's something that happens, some form of Jilmart, if you like, whatever reason. But the fact is that we've had all these politically motivated things, and therefore, Arjuna Ranatunga, if in the context of that, if the government was involved in this thing in a wider perspective, that they wanted to hand this game over to India for other wider reasons, then surely who would dare complain?
I don't think we have any place to go, but as far as a captain is concerned, if I was sitting in Kumar Sangakkara's seat at that particular time, we'll say if the president wants me to lose the game, I will never do that.
No.
I'm sure that Kumar might have done the same thing. But the logic is very, very difficult to understand. It is more like how Mahindananda says the players are not involved. So if the players are not involved, it's very difficult to fix a game. So that is the first question I will ask him. And if he has enough proof, then it should have been a different story.
This is a little bit like Asai Baya. He likes to say something, but he doesn't appear to want to give us the meat to the story.
Absolutely. I think he's trying to put a finger towards someone, which he doesn't want to name that particular person. Ultimately, to end up going through the players and knowing cricket and played so long, I know for sure, and everyone knows, if the players are not involved, it is not easy to fix a game. You can't fix a game from a pavilion or by two presidents in the country.
Yeah.
It can't happen at all.
Nor can the bookies.
No, not really. If the players are not involved, no one can fix it.
Because you need some input from the players.
Absolutely. Even take that as example. They were chasing 270. It's a match-winning score, and after losing 2 wickets, I'm sure the bookie rates might have gone up. But you should ask that from the bookie person, not from me.
No.
And unfortunately, coming back to the other issue you raised about the management, I'll tell you something. The best cricketing time we had when we ran cricket through an interim committee, not by the elected committee.
Right.
We can say different things, but I was running cricket in 2009. I was taken out by the president and the sports minister at that time. My theory was I was trying to get cricket into the grassroots level, like the school level.
Yeah.
But if you analyze the entire cricketing history in this country, the interim committees was running the game very well than the elected bodies, because when you are an elected body, you have to please those people who vote for you, and that is where we have spent a lot of money and a lot of corruptions got into this.
Because of the system of voting.
It is like most of the other countries have 20, 25 votes, but we have about 140 odd votes.
Right.
So
and there are instances where paper clubs have 2 votes.
Absolutely. Now you take SSC, NCC, Bloomfield, CCC, they all have they have cricket grounds and they have 2 votes, and there are clubs which they don't play cricket, they don't have a ground, but still have 2 votes, and they get the same money SSC and NCC gets. So I call this corruption.
And on that note, it's time to take a break, but when we come back, we'll ask Arjuna Ranatunga, who's our guest this evening, whether Mr. Dawood was at that match. On that note, don't go away, come back to Newsline Live.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.
Playing this weekend on Yes 101.
The Weekend Top 30 with Hollywood Hamilton.
What's up? It's Hollywood Hamilton. You know what we do around here. It's the fastest moving countdown in America. Some of the biggest names in the industry in the studio.
Hi, I'm Ariana Grande.
This is Drake.
This is Lady Gaga.
Backstage with us and on the WT30 hotline. I'll catch you this weekend for the Weekend Top 30.
The Weekend Top 30 with Hollywood Hamilton on Yes 101.
නාගරික පැල්පත්වාසීන්ට නවීන නිවාස. එකම ගෙදර සිර වූ අනුපවුල්වලට නවීන නිවාස. කුලී නිවැසියන්ට තමන්ගේම නවීන නිවාස. කොළඹ මධ්‍යම පාන්තිකයන්ට නවීන නිවාස. හදා දෙන්නට අවුරුදු 31කට පසුව ප්‍රේමදාස කොළඹට. රටම කොළඹට. කොළඹ ප්‍රේමදාසට. සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස. අංක 20 සමගි ජන බලවේගේ නායක.
London A-level students, complete your Edith Cowan University degree in 2 years in Sri Lanka and transfer for your masters to the top 100 universities in the world. ECU is ranked 9th in the world for quality education and 1st in Australia for starting salaries, with notable alumni such as Hugh Jackman, Dominic Parcell and Jai Courtney.
Voting period extended by 1 hour. President arrives in Puttalam, says priority will be given for the problems of the people. 6 Sri Lankan fishermen stranded in the Indian Ocean after their vessel toppled, rescued. If the allegations are false, implement the law against Mahindananda, a request from the JVP.
London A-level students complete your Edith Cowan University degree in 2 years in Sri Lanka and transfer for your masters to the top 100 universities in the world. ECU is ranked 9th in the world for quality education and 1st in Australia for starting salaries, with notable alumni such as Hugh Jackman, Dominic Parcell and Jai Courtney.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz, Shauketaly.
And welcome back to Newsline Live. We're in conversation with the 1996 Cricket World Cup winning captain Arjuna Ranatunga, who's also a candidate for the United National Party from the Gump district. We'll ask him about that in a moment. Mr. Ranatunga, was Mr. Dawood at that match?
I was not at the grounds. I was doing commentaries from a studio.
You didn't
I don't know him at all.
Have you ever met him?
No, not at all. They don't come to me. They know that I don't fix games.
Have they, any intermediary ever called you to try and introduce you to him?
I think that is one of the questions I asked in one of the TV interviews. Why not me? Why don't they consider me? The answer was that you can't be fixed.
Ah, okay. Well, there you go. That was a question from one of the public. Thank you very much. Now then, who were the umpires at that final?
Oh, I can't remember who was doing the umpiring. Tell you honestly, I can't remember who was doing the umpiring.
All right. Look, we want to move on a little bit now, away from this. This is a never-ending story. It's
Absolutely.
like the JFK murder. There are still people who think that was something else. Still, Arjuna Ranatunga, you moved from cricket, where you were much adored by the people, to another matter, which is politics. Again, depending on your vote base, you're again loved by the people. What makes you think that being with the United National Party, how will you shape the economic fortunes of our country?
I think if you analyze the entire history of our country, I think the UNP has done the best economical deals in the last so many years. If you are looking at development of the country, the UNP has done most of the major work.
Right.
And I'm not criticizing the other parties. They have done a bit as well. But overall, I felt why I joined the party now, I was never a party man. I always preferred to be an independent guy,
yeah,
where I can say my own things.
Yeah.
If something goes wrong, I should
Is it
voice
something
myself.
that Mahinda Rajapaksa didn't recognize in you, that even if you were with him, that you would be the independent man?
I always spoke. When I see something wrong, I always like to speak up and tell whether it is right or wrong. So some of the leaders...
Did you find that uncomfortable?
Not really. I was very comfortable.
You were, but what about the former president?
No, a lot of presidents or the prime ministers never liked my attitude. I think that is something I never wanted to be in a party for a longer period. And I was with Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa for a shorter period.
Yeah.
I was his deputy minister for tourism when Mr. Andrew Bandaranayake and Mr. Amunugama was a minister.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot from both gentlemen. And then I pulled out from a ministry because that I want to get involved in cricket.
Right.
And when they were trying to appoint an interim committee, I told the former president, let me go into cricket, let me go and help them. Then he said, I don't allow the ministers to get in. So I said, in that case, I'll resign. And I gave the resignation. Then after that, I was never called to an interim committee, so I had to stay out. But I was very comfortable being MP.
But when you have contested, you found that the odds were stacked not in favor of you?
Not at all. I don't think even the present president or the prime minister contest in a cricket election, they will never win. Whether you are a cricketer
it's
or
because of the way the system's designed.
No, it's a manipulated thing. It's everyone knows. Like there are people who will ask you, what are you going to give me?
Right.
It's not the clubs. It's not the school.
When they say that, do they mean what are you going to give their area, or what are you going to give them personally?
I have asked the same question. They all wanted something to their own pockets rather than for development of the game. You go into all the outstation areas, no development has happened. Yes, we have built stadiums, but what about the schools? There are enough schools who doesn't have proper gear, not even a ground, not even playing facilities.
What's your view on the Suryavava stadium then?
I was part of that when they came with the proposal, and I objected. I said we don't need international stadiums. We need the school boys or the club cricketers to go and play in a smaller way. The amount of money we spend on stadiums are not right in this country.
And then what about this new thing in Homagan?
Oh, I got a shock. I was never, I think the present Prime Minister got some of the players to discuss this matter. I was never asked to come. I was glad that I was not called. And I think the cricketers came out and told the truth, and that is one reason that they have to pull out from the idea they had to build a stadium in Homagan. We have 10 international stadiums in this country. Why do you want another stadium? Why don't you spend that money in developing school cricket? That's the foundation.
Do you feel that Sri Lanka cricket is too top heavy? That there are too many employees?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We were trying to come out with a proposal when I was at the interim committee, and I had top business guys who were planning to do that, but unfortunately I had to leave within about 10 months. I had to leave the organization. But overall, it's all about spending money. The cricketers bring money to the country, and ultimately they are the ones who suffers. The people who has never played cricket are enjoying the benefits.
Somebody is asking us, when the ex-minister has said that players were not involved, then why roll out this investigation, and why have Mahela and Kumar Sangakkara, and why interview the players then?
No, that is something, it's very fishy. Why do you want to get the chairman selection committee, captain and the opening batsman, then the vice captain or the guy who got 100 in the match?
Somebody is saying that there were changes to that final team. What was that all about?
Apparently there were 4 changes. Even I can remember there were 4 changes. There were 2 guys brought from Sri Lanka. There were injuries. I can remember Murali was struggling with a hamstring injury or a groin injury. And then we got 2 new guys straight away to play in a World Cup final, which was little uncomfortable for me as far as a former
When you were in that uncomfortable position, did you think for a moment that this could be a political choice? That somebody, maybe the president, maybe President Rajapaksa at the time, wanted a player. Maybe he was listening to somebody else, but that he made a choice.
No, I was not looking at that particular picture. I was concentrating on how we could win the game. I was more concerned to see another World Cup coming back to Colombo, which I could, with 13 committed players. That's a difference I always see. The guys who played with me in that World Cup was more committed. They were not looking at the money. They were not looking at the
because at that time, the payments were nothing like what it is now.
No, not at all. But overall, I think at that time we never looked at the financial benefits we get. We were concerned and we were happy winning games for the country, and winning a World Cup was one of the best things happens to this country, and personally for us as well. Like even today, being a politician, I'm recognized as a former cricket captain, and like I go from one place to other. I contested in Colombo from SLFP and won twice. Then I went to Kalutara, contested from General's Party, won there, then came to Gampa and won from UNF and won again. So people still respect me and trust me. That is the biggest gain I have in my life. Rather than achieving things, people are still trusting me, saying that I'm not a corrupt guy. That's why I'm getting voted and I'm pushing into the parliament every time.
Mm-hmm. And Arjun Ranatunga, as we come towards the end of this, when do you think Sri Lanka will be having the right team or the right spirit and the right atmosphere to bring back another World Cup to our island?
I think we need to get rid of this present management. I always say the interim committee will be better. They will say it's not democratic, but ultimately it's not democratic. You need to get the right people to run cricket, whether it's a country or organization. If you don't have the right people, it will be in a mess. That is what has happened. I'm sure that you know we are supposed to be the most corrupted country in cricket, entire cricket ICC. They implement a anti-corruption unit in Sri Lanka, which none of the other countries have that. So they have recognized as one of the most corrupted country. So this is something I think the present government, the president, even the sports minister has to look in. There were matches fixed in the domestic tournaments. No one was accused. There are reports. The reports are hidden. So a lot of issues are in cricket. I think you need to get a proper interim committee to run cricket. I'm sure that ICC will allow you because with the present status.
Because there is this rule that the ICC says they don't want politics involved.
That is one question, but if we have a major problem with the setup, that is something Mr. Siddharth Vettamuni was trying to do, change the constitution, which we could do, and we were trying to do that.
Last
when we were
and final
running.
question, Arjuna Ranatunga. Do you think the story about Mahindananda and Sumitipala were trying to derail Kumar Sangakkara's possible election as the ICC president?
Knowing the rules, I don't know whether it has changed, but you need to serve in the local tournament, like you have to be a director at the ICC to be the chairman. I think that was the rule when I was at the ICC, at the Sri Lankan Cricket Board. I'm not sure whether it's the same rules, but I think he has enough time. He can get involved in Sri Lanka cricket, then go to the ICC. It's not a major problem, but even Kumar Sangakkara or Muralidharan or Mahela Jayawardena never wins a cricket board election.
Exactly. Arjuna Ranatunga, thank you ever so much for telling us all about cricket and more cricket. Maybe you must come again and so that we can talk politics and more politics.
We'll do that.
Thank you. And that was Arjuna Ranatunga, the UMP candidate from the Gampar district, number 5, right?
Number 5.
Number 5. And that's all there is time for Newsline Live. Take care, have a great evening ahead of you, and of course, God bless.